On this show, we like to make sure you never miss the most ridiculous interventions from our political representatives in Parliament. It's a chance to remind ourselves of the calibre of Britain's politicians, and they can be pretty damn funny. This Thursday, Tory MP Nick Fletcher provided us with one such howler. This was an intervention in a debate about International Men's Day.
Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years, we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equalizer, all replaced by women. And men are left with the Craze and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime?
Doctor Who's now played by a woman. Is there any wonder that men are committing so much crime? Is there any wonder? Aaron, were you persuaded by that intervention there?
Well, firstly, on the crime thing, Michael, I did a piece on this about did the police solve crime in the 1990s. There was more violent crime in this country than there is now. Fact. So the idea that role models somehow have deteriorated from the 1990s, just not true. This man is apparently a religious conservative. He's a social conservative. He's driven by God. For me, if you're driven by God, it would mean you're a socialist, but people can disagree. That was the point of the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. People can disagree. That's fine on questions of religion. But it seems to me that, we're a month away from the birth of Christ, and he's saying that, people don't have role models anymore like Luke Skywalker. The fuck is this guy? And what I'm saying, I'm asking myself, who the fuck is this guy? This guy's winning, Michael. This guy is winning. This guy personifies the people that run this country. Trivial, generally stupid, talentless men, and some women too, but mostly men, who are now in the driving seat of British politics. And they're replete, not just in politics, not just in Westminster or in councils up and down the country, but also in our media. And it's this permanent sense of victimhood. He feels a victim, Michael. Why does he feel a victim? Even though he's a landlord with 10 properties, even though he's a member of parliament, even though he's had an incredibly successful career in the private sector, owned a business for, I think, 2 decades, where he lives in Doncaster. Despite all that, he's a victim. Why? Because Doctor Who's now played by a woman. I think, you look at somebody like that and you think he's upset because he's run out of things to be upset about. Life's pretty good. Just take a seat back, relax, and maybe as a Christian, care about people who are in housing poverty or aren't earning enough money to put food on the table. But of course, he can't do that, Michael, because he's a landlord. And it's not in his interests. Let me get all, gospel. Let me get all, Reverend Al Sharpton on you. It's the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Or, as the Greek has it, Michael, the original Greek, release us from our debts as we release others from their debts to us. Now, Mr. Landlord here has got plenty of good stuff in his life, not much to complain about, so he's going to have to obsess with trivia. That is the future of the Conservative Party the next 10 to 20 years, and that's why we do Novara Media. Focus on substantive politics. I'm not saying we shouldn't have covered the story, Michael. I'm very happy we did. It's brought a smile to my face. And, we need a wanker of the week, as one memorable football show once called it in the 1990s. But wow, that's the mission of our media, Michael. Less people like this in politics.
I've just got one take from this, because obviously this guy got completely rinsed on Twitter for this, both because of how ridiculous the connection was that he drew, but also this claim that because Doctor Who is now a woman and Star Wars, the lead character, I didn't even know this because I haven't watched the latest franchise. Apparently the new lead character in Star Wars is no longer a man, it's a woman. It was Luke Skywalker, then it was Anakin Skywalker. I'm not even sure who it is now because I haven't watched any of them, but that's the context. The idea that there aren't any male role models in this country doesn't really stack up either. Marie Leconte had what I thought was a good tweet. Sorry, I just can't let this go. How can Nick Fletcher go on about the lack of positive male role models mere months after the country united around the loveliest, most decent and inspirational football team? Really good point. They were excellent role models for men in this country. I suppose the reason why Nick Fletcher probably doesn't consider them as such is because they were anti-racist. They took the knee. They embodied progressive values. Let's go to a letter which Nick Fletcher posted on Twitter to set the record straight. He was obviously a little bit upset by all the people who were rinsing him. Let's go to the first part of that letter. He says, "I was pleased to speak at the International Men's Day debate today, especially as it gave me a chance to raise several points that are often a little overlooked within political discourse. These points, namely, touched upon poor academic attainment of boys in schools and a lack of positive role models for many struggling young males in society. Naturally, as is often the case, my rather nuanced point that there are Try that again. Naturally, as is often the case, my rather nuanced point that there are increasingly fewer positive male role models for young boys was almost immediately misconstrued. My point was, in fact, a straightforward one and in no way linked Doctor Who being a female to crime being committed by men." So he then goes on, he really wants to emphasize his point. So later in the letter, he goes on to repeat that point. So he says, "As has been alleged rather lazily by several individuals, I did not link a Doctor Who being female to crime being committed by men. In fact, I was making a statement that boys and young men also need positive role models within the media, just as women do." Now, the problem with these protestations from Mr. Fletcher, sort of begging us to look for the nuance in his argument, is that videos don't lie. He did connect Doctor Who being a female to crime. So in case you're doubting your memory, in case you think you hallucinated what you just saw, let's take another look at that video.
Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years, we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equalizer, all replaced by women. And men are left with the Craze and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime?
Now, on any definition, on any interpretation of that speech, he is very much linking Doctor Who being a woman to men committing crime. Aaron, where do they find these people?
How's this guy an MP? when was James Bond a role model for anybody?
Well, I suppose he's the kind of role model that he thinks, he's patriotic, a bit of a misogynist,
When were the Ghostbusters role models? I don't get it. Like, they literally live in a fictitious universe where they go around catching ghosts. What the fuck? Who the fuck is this guy? Excuse my French. I honestly have never heard anything like it. Who has ever said that the Ghostbusters, Bill Murray and the Ghostbusters, are a fantastic role model? Son, why can't you be more like him? Have you ever heard that?
Bill Murray and Ghostbusters made me who I am today, Aaron.
Egon in the Ghostbusters was a real nerd. He took his vitamins. He really knuckled down at school. He got a great job in a startup in a field that nobody was even knew existed, which was catching ghosts. Why can't you be more like him? 650 people are in our parliament running this country. This guy, and the way he's talking, by the way, you think the content of what he's saying and how he's saying, you think, who the fuck is this guy? There's 63 million people, including children and infants who can't yet speak, who are probably better placed to govern this country than no, I'm being serious. Nick Fletcher? This is deep fake. This is a simulation. With the name, it doesn't sound real. I'm a
Nick Fletcher
Nick
truther.
Fletcher denialist. Yeah.